Narcissists are absolutely everywhere. Just look at Donald Trump, right? The reason why 50% of the US population voted for Trump in 2016 is because they have no clue that he was a narcissist. And if people knew how to spot a narcissist, probably would have not voted for him. And if you never learn how to spot a narcissist, you will be prey to the most cunning, deceitful, manipulative people in your whole fucking life. So you better pay attention to this.
I think we all have to point. Everyone just tries to like.
So what authority do I have to speak on this behalf, right? So I've spoken to, in my life, I've dealt with a lot of narcissists, you know, like past friendships especially, and certain people I've met that were narcissists. And narcissists, they have a certain way of behaving, and they always behave sort of the same way. There's sort of different gradients of them. Some narcissists are very nice and charming on the outside. Other narcissists are just pretty much assholes, right? So there are different types, and I've encountered so many types, right? One of them, for example, is one of my past friends that, you know, he's incredibly nice and charming on the outside, but then if we didn't want to listen to his grandiose achievements, if we didn't want to listen to his sort of like grandiose stories about how he did X, Y, and Z or whatever, then he'd feel personally attacked. And, you know, it was just hard to be friends with that guy. And there's another narcissist that I had that he wanted everything to be perfect. He was sort of like a control freak. And if we didn't help him to, you know, put everything in order the way he wanted to, if we ignored his text message for 10 minutes, he took it extremely personally. He's like, yo man, you're not my friend, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he sort of, because, you know, he thought that everything was supposed to be perfect according to his standards. If you were not living to this standard, then you were a piece of shit, right? Because the standard of superiority, he would project it onto his friends and want to feel like his friends. He needed his friends to also be at his level, right? So without further ado, here are the signs of a narcissist. The number one sign of a narcissist is a sense of superiority and entitlement. This is the most glaring, most obvious sign of a narcissist. Basically, they believe that they are superior to other people. They believe that, you know, they are more important than other people, that they are better than others, and that they are just the best. They're just the best, right? And on top of that, not only are they superior, but they're always right. They will always want things to go their way. They always want things to be under their control. And why are they always right? Why are they always in control? Why all that? Because they are superior, of course, right? The narcissist is superior than you. Of course, he's so great. He's so amazing. Of course, he needs to be true. Of course, he's true. Of course, I'm kidding here, but you get the point, right? Because in their heads, they are superior. Of course, they're always right. So this is a glaring red flag to look out for. So it's a sense of superiority or entitlement. An exception to this rule would be a covert narcissist. A covert narcissist is different because a covert narcissist will act like a victim. They will act like, you know, they're the worst of all victims, and, you know, they are sort of superior in their victimhood in a way that they feel like their needs are so important, and as them being a victim, that they need to be attended to. So this is sort of a huge problem with, like, let's say incels, right? They feel like, you know, their victimhood is justified and that nobody can contradict their victimhood, and there's sort of this false sense of superiority and intelligence. They think they're so intelligent with all these sort of scientific data as to why their life is so shit, right? Those fucking incels, I made a video about that not too long ago, you can look at it, but it's just so glaringly obvious, you know, that sign is just so glaringly obvious, so you want to take attention to that. Number two sign of a narcissist is their need for validation and praise, right? Also, another way that they could ask for that validation or praise or attention is by asking you to do favors, right? Because when you do favors for them, it just gives them that feeling that they are superior than you, that they're sort of giving orders to you, right? And by just the fact of them giving you orders or, you know, favors, it makes them feel like they matter, right? If it's not in favors, maybe it's just like they are constantly telling you stories, or they're sending you things or pictures of what they've achieved just to make themselves feel superior, right? So for example, an old friend of mine that I had in my late teenage years, he'd always, sometimes he'd just send me pictures of girls, like oh, look at this girl that I met on Tinder. She swiped right on me, and whatever that, and then she I don't know which side you swipe when you like someone, but oh, see this girl, I'm going on a date with her, and like I didn't give a shit, right? But he would just do that because he felt so inferior that he needed to share this with me. The number 3 sign of a narcissist is perfectionism, right? Incredibly high expectations of people, you could also call it, because they expect their life to go perfectly according to plan. When it doesn't happen, they feel like something's being wronged, that they've been wronged, that there's something wrong about the situation, and it's never their fault, by the way. It's always the fault of that other person for them, right? It's always the fault of that thing. It's always the fault of customer service. It's always the fault of that shitty, toxic person in their lives because they're not toxic enough, right? So it's always the fault of someone else. And let's say if a narcissist were to, let's say, I don't know, be your friend or be your roommate, if nothing was perfect, they would fucking scream at, they would make a huge deal out of it, right? Because they want everything to be according to their own plan. Narcissists, they have an amazing life, a perfect life that they envision in their life, and they want everything to go according to plan. And if for some reason you come along and you don't fit that narrative, oh boy, are they going to pick on you and point a finger at you until you can help them live up to that perfect narrative that is impossible to live up to. So maybe if you had, I don't know, if your boyfriend is a narcissist, which is 99% of people who watch narcissist videos are women for some reason that have abusive boyfriends. If your boyfriend is a narcissist, then, and is he like always wanting things to be perfect? Can he deal with flaws around the house, or can he deal with flaws in you? If he can't, then that's a glaring sign. The number 4 sign of a narcissist is their intense need for control. A need for control. If you've dealt with a narcissist before, you realize that they have this huge need for things to go perfectly their way all the time. Why? Because narcissists, they have this perfect script of how life is supposed to go in their head. And if things don't go according to plan, if things don't happen for them according to plan, then they're just, something is wrong, right? And they're going to do everything to control the outcome of this script so that it happens. And also, why do they deserve to be in control? Why do they deserve to control everything like a freak? Because they are superior. Yeah, right. Because they are the king. Of course, the king always decides. Come on, is that obvious? Right? Because they are the king, because they're superior. They believe that everyone should obey their command. Right. So, for example, you look at Donald Trump, who lost the election. Now he's sort of like, can you see how like his intense need for control is sort of manifesting after the election? He's like, oh man, fuck man, I don't want to lose this election. I didn't lose that election, and now he's sort of putting conspiracy theory sort of claims that the election was rigged, even though there's no fucking proof of the rigged election, because of his script in his head that he is the greatest president of all time. Because of this script in his head that he is the best and that no one can rival him, and like of course he deserves to be the president, because he's so engrossed in his ego, in his sort of sense of superiority, that he cannot step down and realize that, you know what, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. So this is huge, the need for control. You should see it as a glaring sign. The next sign of a narcissist is their lack of taking responsibility. A narcissist will never fucking take responsibility for their mistakes ever. If there's an error somewhere, it's always someone else's fault. Why? Because they are so superior that they cannot make mistakes. Why is it always someone else's fault? Because they are so superior that of course they cannot make mistakes. They are so perfect that they cannot make mistakes. They are so grandiose, they are the best. So what a narcissist will do is they will take credit for the success, but they will never take responsibility for their mistakes. Let me repeat that. So they will take credit for their success and their results, but they will never take responsibility for their mistakes. Number 6 sign of a narcissist is that they lack boundaries. They lack boundaries in the sense that the boundaries meaning the limitations between him and you, right? Between her and you. Because the narcissist, they don't have a clear sense of when the other person begins and who they are, right? How you can explain is that they believe that, someone else's needs is the same as their own needs, or like their need is what someone else's needs should be, right? So for example, if you have a roommate who's a fucking narcissist, is gonna say like, yo man, this place is really messy, there's like this smallest amount of, I don't know, like a dirt on the floor. They're gonna complain about that. They're gonna say like, yo man, like I don't understand, like the way like you take care of your room is sort of like how things should be clean is like a projection of who you are, and I don't understand like why you wouldn't want to keep things clean. And it's sort of like this sort of projection that they believe that their worldview is your worldview. It's like this delusion that the way they think is the way everyone else should think, right? They sort of like this sense of other, you could say. Is narcissist is very sad, but they're sort of at a lower stage of ego development that you could call, if you look at Susan Cook-Gurder's model of ego development, there's the earliest of stages, which is called the opportunist, right? Or the sort of impulsive, where you believe that you are at the center of the world. And you believe that the world exists only to the extent that it serves your own needs. That the external world exists only to serve your needs. And when you're dealing with someone like that, it's extremely hard to deal with because, everything they do is for themselves. It's incredibly selfish. So that's one huge sign of a narcissist. So the 7th sign of a narcissist is a lack of empathy. Now, why is that? It's because they are so absorbed in themselves, they're so absorbed with their own life and how life is supposed to go and all that in their own lives, that they have no time and no perspective to see someone else's perspective. They have no sort of sense of what the other person is feeling, right? And also because they believe that the cause of their emotions, right, of their internal emotions, if they're angry, it's always external. It's always the fault of someone else if they're angry. If they feel sad, it's always the fault of someone else. If they feel wronged for some reason, they feel like they're mad, it's always the fault of customer service. It's never their fault, right? So, I say I work at a collections agency at my bank, and there's people, they always come up and they're like, yo, I'm not gonna pay this card because you as a financial institution keep charging me interest and this is a scam. And they sort of always blame it on something else. And if I were to tell that person, hey, listen, sir, the problem isn't the financial institution, the problem is you unable to take responsibility for your financial life, which is pretty much the truth. How are you gonna think he's gonna respond, right? If he's a fucking narcissist, of course he's gonna hang up, or he's gonna cut away the card, or they like, you know what? I am too superior to pay for this bullshit, right? They don't have empathy. They don't have sort of like this sense of like, you know what? There's another person out there who also has feelings, right? Right? There's that other institution out there that, they also are struggling. It's not just you the thing that matters, it's the other person too that matters. So this sort of lack of empathy is a huge sign. The number 8th sign of a narcissist is that they perceive everything as a threat. Everything that contradicts their own way of seeing the world, everything that contradicts the way of understanding reality, right? Or their way of just how things work or how their life is supposed to pan out is a threat, right? If, I don't know, if their grandiose idea, I saw this funny show, like a narcissist, a 40-year-old narcissist on television who thought he was going to be a rock star and all that, still living with his parents and has no job, and he's sort of on TV, that this goofy ass guy. And you know, if something was not to go to plan and he was not going to become a rock star, of course it would be a threat to him, right? If he, you know, let's say he wanted to sign for that record deal, I don't know, and then the record company like, yo, you know what, you're a piece of shit, you suck at music. Of course it's gonna be a threat to him. He's gonna be like extremely angry, manipulative. He's gonna say like, oh, you guys just want to get my money or whatever. You guys are a bunch of losers, whatever. He's gonna find some excuse to, you know, to convince himself that, you know, his dream is gonna be reality, and that anyone who says otherwise is full of shit. Well, maybe you should listen to feedback if you're a narcissist. The number 9th sign of a narcissist is emotional reasoning. They always reason from emotion, right? And how it works from a narcissist is because since they have such poor self-awareness of their emotions, because they always externalize their emotions on someone else or whatever, whenever they feel mad or pissed off, whenever they feel a negative emotion, they believe that whatever they're gonna say according to this emotion is true, right? So let's say if they feel angry that you didn't clean the dishes, for example, I don't know, then he's gonna feel justified. Because he's angry, he's gonna feel justified that you must clean the dishes because he feels angry. How stupid is that, right? Just because he feels angry about it. How does that make any sense, right? It's not because you're angry at something that whatever you point the finger at needs to be fixed. It's not because you're angry at something that whatever you criticize has to be fixed right now, right? Yeah, okay, maybe you're angry at the dishes. Well, you know what? Maybe you should be angry at yourself because you should be fucking doing the fucking dishes, not your wife who's been doing the dishes like 7 days a week, like the last week, and you haven't done it once, right? Maybe you should be angry at yourself for not doing it. See? So it's this sort of circular reasoning with starting from emotion, and it's not because you feel something that it is true. The 10th sign of a narcissist is that they have split personalities, right? The narcissist always wears a mask, or they switch in between masks, right, to show different sides of them. Because why? Because deep down, the narcissist believes that they are worthless, that they are worth absolutely nothing. Deep in their shadow, the narcissist believes that they are a piece of garbage, and to compensate for that, they're going to aggrandize their ego. They're going to, put themselves out there, like show this amazing image of who they are, right? So, for example, I met this narcissist who, at first glance, he's incredibly charming. Sort of like the first time I met him, he's like, "Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I love this about you. Oh, you seem like a chill guy. Oh yeah, you're also into personal development. Me too, amazing." Right? He shows like the sort of great personality on the outside, sort of, okay? And maybe on the first day you don't spot it. Maybe on the first week you don't spot it. Maybe even in the first month. But as time goes on, their personality just starts to crack. Something about them just cracks, and they show their real face, or they show a different face of you, right? So for example, they're going to be extremely nice for like a month, and then all of a sudden on a specific day they're going to say like, "You know what, you're a piece of shit fucking friend, and I'm never going to talk to you again. I'm just going to leave. And by the way, you deal with all the bullshit of like, you were supposed to finish that project, do it by yourself, and now like you're gonna pay for it, like whatever," right? And they steal your money and shit like that, which is absolutely insane. I had to deal with that twice in my life. Actually, one of my old narcissist friends, he said, "Oh well, because I don't know, I dropped something on his floor and I couldn't fix it. He wouldn't give me back my PS3, which he still has to this day. This fucking idiot." Whatever. But like he said like, "Oh well, you never fixed my floor. Well, I'm keeping your PS3 and you're never coming back to my house, you fucking idiot." I was like, "Sure, man, PS3 is worth $20 nowadays anyways, with the PS5 coming out." Anyway, that's a whole other story. But so you get the point, right? They're just come out in the weirdest of ways. And when you confront them about it, what happens? I confront them about it and they're like, oh yeah, sorry man, like I was really in a bad mood, but in the moment, it felt like that's what I wanted to say. And maybe they try to apologize to you and be nice to you and they have this huge smile on their face and you're like, what the fuck, man? You just told me like a week ago that you're gonna sue me or like whatever, that you're just gonna leave without paying rent or whatever stupid shit. You're just gonna tell me that? Fuck you, man, right? So that's sort of these sort of weird split personalities that happen with these people. You have to stay on guard for these people because these people, they can just flip the switch and you never expect it, right? And some days they're nice to you and some other days they're just, their real personality comes out, their shadow comes out, and because they're trying to bullshit themselves that with all this, I don't know, it could be they bullshit themselves that they are the best, that their life goes well according to plan. It's sort of all this facade. When they can no longer hold that facade, they will crumble. And when they crumble, if you are not ready for it, you're gonna get annihilated by that person. So best way to deal with it is if you see that sign, if you see them flip one time, just one time, okay, just cut them out of your life. You don't want to deal with that sort of split personality. This can lead you to the fucking hell. So don't deal with that. And the bonus and one last sign, the 11th sign of a narcissist is that they cannot be vulnerable with someone. They cannot be vulnerable with someone. They can't be themselves, right? Because they feel like they're so miserable, that they feel like they're so worthless inside that, and they have all this cover-up, right? They have all these fucking grandiose cover-ups to pretend like they're the best, that they cannot be vulnerable with someone else. And they cannot get close to someone else, right? So maybe if you've had a narcissist in your life, you just feel like this weird distance between you and them, right? And I have one of my friends who used to be like that it's just, he was incredibly charming on the outside, but like, it was just this weird distance. Like he was saying things that were just so out there that I could not relate with because it was just all about his sense of superiority and all that, and his weird God complex. I just could not relate. It's like this weird thing. And it's just, they have, like, narcissists, they all have these weird grandiose stories, and it's just like you can't relate with them for some reason. It's just this weird thing, right? And it was hard for me to get close to that person. And when I did get close, it was still sort of this barrier. Like I was like, we were like 1 feet apart, sort of. We always one arm's length apart, and we couldn't get close. So something to pay attention to. So these are the signs of a narcissist. And if you notice any of these signs, if you notice like there's like 3, 4, or 5 plus of these signs, then you could be in danger, right? And you have to understand that narcissism comes within a certain spectrum. It's not like you're a fucking narcissist or you're not. It's sort of like it comes in degrees. So for example, you could be dealing with a special case of narcissism where that person, shows certain traits, but it's not the end of the world because you can still socialize with them. They're still, sort of, it's still someone you can talk with, sort of, okay? And you can still maybe, eat lunch with them at work, and it's not the end of the world, right? Some of these types of narcissists are not the end of the world. But if you see like any of these sort of bigger signs, like split personality or like control freak and all that, you want to run the fuck away, right? Anyways, I don't have any narcissists in my life. I don't even have any of my friends don't even have a single sign of any of these 11 signs, right? So just something to keep in mind. And when you're dealing with a narcissist, it really happens a lot. If you have this person in your life for a long time, that you lose your sense of self, you lose your sense of purpose, you lose your sense of who you are. Why? Because that narcissist always imposed their needs on you. So you no longer know who you are and what you need and what you want. And if you struggle with finding that purpose and finding who you are, you can book a free consultation call with me, link in the description below. So if you love this video about narcissism and the 10 signs of narcissism, then you're gonna love this series here about how to manipulate a manipulator. So I'll see you there. So you know that you are being manipulated and you've tried everything to try to end it. You were direct to them, you confronted them, you told them exactly what was going on.